Hello, my Sparkle sisters. Happy March 26th. Oh my gosh, does the time go so fast or what? I hope you're excited about spring. I love it because my sinuses get such workout. I want to know who else is dealing with that. All of this, like you feel like you have like this invisible octopus on your face, right? Oh, so crazy. So I have to tell y'all, I love putting out these questions. Y'all are so funny. Joanne Floyd, Donna Brewington, y'all might go to jail. Y'all are so funny. Joanne says, I asked what would be a superpower on the weekend. She said it depends. Will they be able to find their bodies on weekdays? And Donna says, not if you bury them and put plants that are what is that when you can't, you're not supposed to, you not, are there, oh my gosh, can't even think of the word of that right now. Somebody else can type that in, but they're like endangered. And so I thought that is scary that y'all have thought through that. Susan Bell said, I'm to clean my house like bewitched, right? And how many of y'all, I was like, oh my gosh, I've thought that 100 times. Who's ever done that? Like you're just like, oh, I just wish that could all be done. Veronica says, snap my fingers and meal prep is ready for the week. How many of y'all would be skinnier, more healthy? Yep, that would be me. And Kanika Boo says, I know exactly someone's greatest need at the moment to be able to fulfill it. And Mary Beth Hunley said, having the ability to know who is ready for a change and ready to allow what is needed for that. And, I think of all of the ones, we had a lot of answers on there. It really was. And this is why we're Sparkle Sisters, is that it was real, with the exception of Joanne and Donna, which really their hearts are like that. They're just really funny. But it really was, I wish I could read minds. I wish I could help people see them the way that they could see themselves. I was talking to a girlfriend this last weekend. I was in Charlotte, and we decided that instead of going through Interstate 40 through all that we would go up through Bristol and drive down through the Blue Ridge. So any of y'all that are going there, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. And it was, as I was talking to a girlfriend of mine at this conference, we talked about how amazing it is the way that we see ourselves and how other people see us. And I was telling her, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could like pull my eyes out and let you see you how I see you. Like if you, stepped out of your pink Escalade and I saw you coming, like I would follow you anywhere. And then yet, that's not how she was seeing herself. And I just wonder, for all of us, that's why y'all plug in, and thank you all so much for sharing with friends. We've got a lot of y'all that are sharing with friends. That is like the greatest compliment that you could pay me. We really are legacy changers. And I just think about, the superpower that we want, we really could create because we could speak it into the people around us. And many of y'all know I do legacy changers. You just saw Jemima's, and I'm going to be posting one on Nikki, who I just had breakfast with today. And y'all know with my legacy changers, I ask them 3 questions. One is, what advice would you give your younger self? What advice would you give a woman in her current situation? And number 3 is kind of my newer one. It is, what is something you're glad you did that others told you not to do? Right? So kind of think through that. Like, what advice would you give your younger self? Nikki says this is so good. She said, trust yourself more and stop waiting for permission to go after what you want. I mean, like, is that not the truth? Regardless of your age, can you imagine if the little girl who had those little girl dreams had permission and believed that she could do all those things that was laid on her heart? Can you imagine where your life would be at? Can you imagine what your influence would be? Then Nikki said, what advice would you give a woman in your current situation? She said, don't try to do everything alone. Success comes from delegation, boundaries, and prioritizing. How many of you all are thinking, I probably could use some, I need some prayer. I need some ideas on delegation, boundaries, and prioritizing. One of the things that I've always been taught is if it doesn't build your relationship with the Lord, the key, family members and the key people in your business, then you need to delegate everything else. My family sometimes will say, well, are you going to delegate breathing at any moment? And because I do, I delegate a lot of different things. And it's not my nature. My nature is that I'm going to go do it. But as Pam Shaw always talks to us, is that time spent in one place is taken away from another. And that includes the the time in your head, like thinking about, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do that. I was doing something the other day and I'm like, I can promise you the number one national is not doing this. Why am I doing this? And, sometimes it does come to that. And then boundaries, who do you let get into your head and your heart and your time schedule? And not that you don't want people in there, but when do you allow them in? I'm very protective of my mornings, my 10 to 2, very, very protected. That's whenever I work. I just am very blessed that my family has followed my lead on that. And unless there was a blood or bone, nobody's really calling me or expecting me to reach out during that time. And so when you're ready to grow your business, your nonprofit, or to go to another level and whatever it is that you're chasing after, do you have boundaries of when you're available to work? Especially if you work from home, people are like, well, she didn't have a job. I just happen to work from the house. And then prioritizing. That to me is really one of the biggest deal breakers. And those that have a good business and those that have got an abundant business is the art of prioritizing. And that is, there was a book written called, what was it called? I think it was, oh, I can't think of the name of it right now. Y'all might be able, oh shoot, I can't think of it, but it will come to me. But the whole point of it is that you do eat that frog. That was the name of it, eat that frog. And that's because if you ate a frog the first thing in the morning, everything else would be easier. And those of us who are abundantly successful, and in seasons whenever I'm even more successful, is whenever I do hard things first. And we have a tendency to have a to-do list. Then what happens is you're just working through this list, so you're getting all the little things done and all those things. But then what happens is you run out of time and you're not doing the most important things. So for y'all, I would challenge you, what are the most important things that need to be done? I talk to people whenever I'm coaching them in our business, like it's 2 new appointments scheduled every day, and then you're sharing every day. Those 2 things need to be done before you do everything else. Because if not, then it's not going to be done. Now, the key to that is then if you don't do it, that means the next day it's not 2, it's 4. And then the next day, if you didn't do that, then it's 6, then it's 8, then it's 10. But most people will prioritize during the day, but they don't carry over the numbers. Like, in other words, you made a promise to yourself. And as I wrap up Success Needs today, what we want to be able to do is really talk about the most important promises are the ones that you make to yourself and to your family. And that's, again, a lot of times when we get to feeling really spicy. Another thing is, like, if you have a tendency to have to go up a mountain road, my friend Debbie would not tell me where we were staying as we were headed to Charlotte. And it was in this beautiful lake home. Many of y'all saw pictures of it. Gina Prince, thank you to you and your husband, Bill, for allowing us to stay in this. I mean, literally, this lake home should be on the cover of a magazine, on HGTV. The problem is that it is a little 1-lane but blacktop road. Reminds me of that one in Colorado. And it's like the storm came through there and they have filled in some of the holes with no guardrails, like with a little more blacktop. And of course I drive the big old Escalade, which kind of takes up all this. So they're telling me where we're going, and I'm like, I'm not driving up that road. If I have to sleep in my car, I'm not driving up that road. And they were laughing because I'm pretty fearless. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Because I knew what would happen is I get halfway up that hill and then there's no place to go. And it was so funny. I had never met Gina's husband. And Gina said, well, I'll drive your car. I'm like, okay, great. Here's the keys. And then I jumped in. I'm like, hi, Bill. I'm Diana. Thank you for getting me up this hill. And it was as crazy as I thought it was going to be. But at the end, right? So I found a way to get up there, right? So I did a little delegation, right? I gave the keys to Gina. I put boundaries up. I'm not driving it. Not only that, y'all are going to get to drive up here tomorrow morning and take us back down. And then I prioritized, right? So the prioritizing was I wanted to know everything about Bill. Because there's no way I was looking down this mountain. And so I wonder, like, what is it that you're the most afraid of? What is it between you and this absolutely breathtaking view of all 3 states? I mean, it was so worth the drive. And I just want you all, as we're working through success needs, what is it that maybe we need to learn more about ourselves so that we know where those boundaries are? So let's get going on this today. And I'm so glad that y'all are enjoying this. And if you want to go back, this is week 3 of this, and then we'll start on something new to starting next week. If you want to let me know what you're excited for. So these are the 5 basic success needs. We've done power and achievement, we've done love and belonging, and we've done freedom of choice. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to work through safety and security and fun and pleasure. And so many of y'all were asking, where is that questionnaire? So if you want to screenshot this, I'm going to leave it up for a few minutes. So what you would do is you would take this test right here. And that is like, which best describes you? Are you confident, harmonious, independent? You like to work step by step, or life of the party? Okay. So 1 is least likely to drive you towards your goals. And 5 is most, it really does describe you. And when you total these up, okay, and you find out which ones, they align with this. Okay, so column 1 is love and belonging. I'm sorry, power and achievement. Column 2 is love and belonging. 3 is freedom of choice. Number 4 is safety and security. And then the last one is fun and pleasure. So it will give you an idea. And now most people, many of y'all have reached out to me and you all have asked, could you be 2? Most people are. Okay, I am love and belonging. That's higher, but I am followed very closely by freedom of choice. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. I don't do well, which is funny that I was in the Air Force for 8 years. But in every case, I found a way to do a job that I was not micromanaged. So I always found different ways to be able to work. Same thing at church. I love serving. I would not consider being on staff or having a position, although I've done high level volunteering for years at a time. But again, I'm able to create that. Power and achievement, I am not motivated at all by the scoreboard, other than I know my people want to be at the top of the scoreboard, but personally, I don't care 2 hoots about that. The 2 that I'm going to share with you are my lowest, safety and security and fun and pleasure. Now, I know I'm kind of a fun girl, but that doesn't really motivate me. So the reason why, again, every week I've been telling y'all this, it's not just the way that you're wired, but you're talking about your kids, your spouse, your friends, your family, people you work with. And so the idea of everything that I'm going to be teaching through this series is, and the ones that we've got coming up, is so that when you're around someone that just like rubs you the wrong way, instead of going, oh, God, why does she do that? That you think, wonder why she does that. And that's a totally different, right? This is conflict, right? This is conflict. This is connection. What do we have in common? What is driving her? And so what it does is it allows a place. We had a situation this last week where something was, there was a situation that just happened that just really ticked me off because I only knew a little bit about it. So instead of me just getting out and blasting that and being mad, like I immediately called someone that was involved in the original decision making. And I'm like, okay, help me understand why we chose this person and why we did it the way that we did that. When she explained that to me, it made total sense. Like this entire conversation that I was having was so off the mark. And had I not immediately called this friend of mine to find out the why behind and what was going on there. And then I even went back and did even a little bit more research. I'm so grateful that what I thought needed to happen didn't happen. How about that? And so I wonder, what is stealing your joy right now? What is it that you're trying to fix, or what is it that you're mad about? There's been enhancements, changes, different things that are going on. And if you kind of went to the person, or you went to the decision-making people that have that and get the why behind it, it will make a big difference. So let's talk about safety and security. I am married to a man that is safety and security, which is great because he is my stake. He keeps me from going off the deep end. Okay, so here we go. So safety and security, they have a need for stability. Okay. They have a preference for the process. Their strengths is they follow the rules easily. They can move quickly as long as the process itself does not change. As long as you keep it simple and consistent, everything is good. They really are, when their needs are met, they're at peace. They're incredibly loyal. They can move fast. Again, as long as the system doesn't change, we are good to go. And what do they collect? Okay, what do they collect? They collect a safe process. So I'd love to know which one of you all, who out there, where are my safety and security? Like, you love some processes, okay? I love a process too, but I get really bored with it. So again, because I work with a lot of safety and security, even though I want to change it up, I can't. Like, I would trash it all and start all over every 90 days. But I can't, because I lose people. But I can tweak it a little bit, maybe make it look a little different so it looks new and fresh. But the process, well, I think one of our secrets to success is, in my 38 years, I pretty well do the same appointment. Now, it is definitely on trend. It is relevant. It is speaking in the language of the generations that I'm with. It's definitely with the product. However, the concept of the tools that I use, the openings, the closings, because people don't change, is still pretty much the same. So that when people come back in, same thing at church. I feel like our church, Crosspoint, does a great job. If you're not there for a while, you can come back and it will still feel pretty familiar, updated, enhanced, but still feel familiar. So for y'all that love a lot of change, be very, very careful with that. The other thing with safety and security, what they're energized by. In other words, what is it that makes them energized? And I'll just pull this up so y'all can just do a quick little snapshot on this. But they're energized by a stable environment. They need to think things through, a strong step by step. So whenever I do a training package, I will do in all of the processes that I do, I have an at a glance. So I would have like an overall agenda for everything that I do. Okay. Then behind it, I have detail. So for people that just need to be able to have a sheet of paper to know where they're going, that's great. But then for people that want the detail, I have that as well. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a place where no matter how you were wired, you would feel supported. It really does need to be repeatable. For the end of our appointments, we used to call it an individual consultation. Like you're going to the OBGYN. I don't want to do but now we call it a beauty chat. And it's exactly the same thing, but it sounds more engaging, more fun, more relevant. I would love to do a beauty chat. No, I don't want to do an individual consultation, but it's exactly the same. So some of you all, depending on what's going on in your nonprofit or your church or your family or your business, again, you don't have to change the process. You just might want to change the name to make it, because some of the things that we used to say are kind of repelling to people now. So, I'm 100 years old. So, what we used to say, I would never say now. So making sure that you're being relevant with that. They love a long range strategy. They're motivated by the ability to control and create their own future. Okay, so they want to be able to control their income. These types of people normally have a lot of multiple streams of income. Okay, they're stressors. So if you're, again, safety and security, the stressors are unexpected changes. Oh my gosh, to live in what we're living now. This is really hard. Like a lot of people, again, just in the season that we're in right now, a lot of people went to work for the government because that was a secure job. And it is not right now. And it's rocking a lot of people because that's why they chose the darn job anyway, because it was something that they could count on. So Sparkle Sisters, I'm going to ask you to just take a minute, and I want you to look around your life and maybe just be very prayerful for your friends that are caught up in this net. Whether you agree with what they're doing or not, it doesn't really matter, because it's about us supporting each other. And maybe that is a person that maybe needs to be taken out to lunch, reminded how powerful they are, maybe be reminded of the things in their life that they still can control, and to maybe help them see, okay, you have all of these talents, maybe you could do something over here. But y'all, let's be a bridge for all of the instability to help our sisters be able to work through that. Another thing, safety and security, if they don't have enough margin in their schedule. So we work a lot virtually. And so I've seen people do something. I'm going to work 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I'm like, you are going to hate your life. And I'll tell you why, because logically that makes sense. Except when you have somebody that you're really connecting with, you don't want to have to jump off the phone. So whenever I'm booking my day, I book in a 20-minute margin behind everything I do, whether they're late getting started or it goes a little bit longer or whatever. I don't like to be late because that says my time's more important than yours. So I work a lot of margins. So like whenever I'm send out a schedule, I'll have 9, 10, 11, 12, but I only book 30 to 40-minute time slots. That also allows me then in between those times, if I'm not still kind of, talking to that person, I can go in and clear out some things so that I don't get to the end of a 4 hour and then I've got 28 messages and all those things. So again, safety and security, they need to work in a little more stability. Now, when their needs are not met, safety and security, I've seen this a lot in church. Whenever we, again, through COVID, we've seen so much of that. In our world, we used to only be need to need, right? It's the only way we ever did it. Now we can work screen to screen. We can work on Facebook Messenger and Instagram and TikTok, and we can work on Zoom, and we can do all of this. Well, I have to tell you, for safety and security people, it's a little hard. So what I did as a coach is I made sure that my in-person and my virtual was exactly the same. So whether you were knee to knee or screen to screen, you only ever had to learn one thing. And then whatever you're doing over here on what I call a meme, right? So like a need to meme, so that you're kind of working in social media, that would be a little bit different, but you could still pull from here. So I didn't want people, although there's 3 different playgrounds, I didn't want them to feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to learn 3 separate businesses. And again, because you're going to lose your safety and security people. So your job as the coach, as the mentor, and whatever you're doing in your office, in your home for your safety and security is show where it is the same. Show where there's the common ground. Like when you master this skill, you're going to be able to use it here and here and here. Or you just say, don't worry about this, and let's just master this. And when you've mastered this, then we'll add in something else. Okay. So again, a lot of y'all can take on a lot, but these people cannot. When they feel very unstable, they're anxious, they panic, they will play small. You'll see them stop setting goals. They become stagnant. They become really too cautious. Okay, trigger words. We talked about trigger words for safety and security, process, routine, are some of the words that you would use: order, secure, consistent, simple, ground. Oh, sorry about that. I went too far. How unlike me. Hold on, here we go. We go, went the wrong way. Sorry about that. Guidelines, expert, professional. So that's kind of a way to be able to do that. And then the daily questions that safety and security are going to ask is, what can I expect today? They need to be able to know it's going to be a very similar coaching. Safety or security people is to ask questions like, what is your next step? What is your plan? I don't talk feel, like I don't talk a lot about feelings. I'm not going to say, what do you feel about that? Right? It's going to be more think, almost like how I would work with a man. Like if I'm working with a husband and wife, I'm going to say to her in most cases, how do you feel about that? And I'm going to say to a man, what do you think about that? Right? So again, speaking in a language that people can kind of connect with. So coaching questions again, is your savings account growing? How can you incorporate these enhancements? Again, get away from the word change and go to enhancement. What do you like the most about this enhancement? What changes? Why do you think that they made that tweak? So, gosh, our time is up already. It's 24 minutes. Okay, so next week we're going to do fun and pleasure. And I am excited. Many of you all have reached out to me privately and wanted to know if I could do this training for your church or your business. Yes, depending on my schedule, just reach out to me privately. I'd be happy to do that. We can talk about how that might be able to work virtually, or if you're local, whatever that is. So did want to let you know that that is definitely an option. I am excited for you all to go out there and find these safety and security people and give them some love. Just remind them of how amazing they are and where things are the same. And then for y'all that are safety and security, then my challenge to you is to stop freaking out right now and go find the things that are the same, and then go find places that you can go play with the skills that you already have, right? Nobody ever starts at zero. And I'm so excited for this week. Look for your question on Tuesday. So be ready to do that. Thank you again for sharing, because together we're too blessed to be stressed, too anointed to be disappointed, too equipped to be whipped. Have a miracle-filled week, y'all. See you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.